Hi, my name is Isadora, and I'm the great-granddaughter of Lysander. He was an amazing Spartan leader. He was an inspiration to everyone who worked for him and all the soldiers. He was a Mothax, meaning he grew up from nothing. He had no money growing up. He couldn't even afford his military training. He had to be sponsored. And it's just amazing how intelligent and how he was literally able to get into the minds of his enemies. He knew what they were going to do even before they did. Um, I mean, he knew how to guide his troops through battle, and unfortunately, he ended up dying in battle in 395. Um, Although his family didn't have money, they are said to be descendants from Heracles. And I guess that gives us some status even before we became who we are today, which is, descendants of Lysander, and that's just the greatest honor that there is.
Salve. Mihi nomen est Athena. Aemilius Paulus, my great-grandfather, came of age at a time where there were so many great and outstanding men that glory and virtue were thick on the ground. Nevertheless, he made his mark. Aemilius Paulus had 4 children with his first wife, 2 boys and 2 girls. His first daughter was my grandmother. Devastation struck when his 2 sons died, but he held his own and continued with his promise to his country. Prior to his consulship, he was attentive to tradition. He was diligent, and he didn't attend any other business when he was involved with something else. He showed himself to be the same kind of person through his military practices. He didn't do things to win popular favor. He did it because he thought it was the right thing, and fortune surrounded him.
Lysander had many military accomplishments. He was the admiral during the Peloponnesian War, and he actually defeated the Athenians. He was supported by many people, and he was loved by Cyrus the Younger. Cyrus supported him economically. He made sure his army had enough money and equipment. There was a law in Sparta at the time that you could only be admiral once. So once Lysander's term was over, Callicles took over, and he actually ended up dying in battle. And the Spartan people realized what an amazing military leader Lysander really was, and they wanted him back in charge, and they wanted him making the decisions. So they ended up putting Areacus in charge, but he only held the term admiral. He wasn't the one who was actually in charge. Lysander was still making all of the decisions. Because Lysander was so successful, he actually had many people who resented him. And during his final years, the Spartan army was split into 2, and Lysander was in charge of one section. And when they went to attack a city and convince the people to revolt, he actually ended up dying in that battle. And Agesilaus, who was one of the people who was jealous of Lysander, spread a rumor after he was dead that Lysander actually had this plot to increase his power and to make himself very important in the Spartan kingsmanship. And it was clearly all lies and rumors, but it shows the extent that people would go to and the amount of power he really held. He was simply an inspiration to so many people, and yet so many people disliked him because of that.
Aemilius Paulus held several admirable positions during his lifetime, such as the consul for 2 terms, censor, and great army general. He conquered tribesmen, which he defeated, and then he moved on to bigger and more challenging obstacles. Aemilius was faced against the Ligurians, and he conquered them. And then he conquered the Macedonian king and his forces and crushed them. This victory brought an end to the major phase of Rome's westward expansion. To him, fortune was a power which guided him through the virtues that he demonstrated and enabled him through all his victories. He was a noted general, and he died in 160 BC. These accomplishments brought great honor and pride to Rome, along with our family. And that's all he ever wanted. He proposed that he would not be the general of Rome if they were not satisfied completely with his actions. And he did exactly that. He changed Rome. He gave them their pride back. And he gave us something to remember.
As the great-granddaughters of two amazing military leaders, we feel blessed to have the opportunity to share their story with you, and we hope that you continue telling their story and make sure that they will never be forgotten.
From the tellings of my mother and my grandmother, I feel blessed to be the descendant of such a great contributor to the ancient world. We thank you for watching, and we hope that their spirit lives on through you.
Algo gratias!